Are we live?
Yeah.
Okay, well, hello. Do we know what day of the week it is anymore? It doesn't matter at this point, does it?
I actually just learned that it was Wednesday. Yeah, hence the making a cocktail.
Wednesday.
We're halfway through.
Well, welcome back. So we have Tiffany. We have a special guest, Sunny, who you were very special. Sunny is. Okay, do you want to explain what you do and what you did, and then I can share why you're awesome?
Well, yeah. Well, I think we formed our relationship probably in a very unique way. Probably started with hate. Well, hate's a strong word. Probably started with dislike and just annoyance.
On your part towards me, presumably.
Yeah. Well, I would say probably, probably you towards me. No. Obviously, Ben and I got to know each other through one of my previous roles in communications, working for a large airline. And I was his point person if he had questions, needed to do some digging, or wanted to complain about a lobster roll sandwich. I feel like that's when our friendship really blossomed, because I sent you a text message saying, am I allowed to swear?
Like on YouTube?
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Hell yes.
I sent you a text message. Are you effing kidding me right now with this lobster roll? Because I spent the entire afternoon answering phone calls from the New York Post, from Daily Mail, asking about this lobster roll sandwich. And I feel like that's when I was like, I'm going to be honest with you, Ben. I'm a little pissed off, but it's also very funny because who knew that story was going to take off? And I think you found it funny too. And
I just lived to make your life more fun, I guess, is what it was. I know you were bored otherwise.
Interesting.
There's nothing else bad going on at said airline, so that was, I think, the most fun. But the reason Sunny is awesome, so I go out of my way not to actually like people who work, sorry, that sounds bad, but who work in airline communications, because oftentimes, like, you don't want to develop.
Great ones, though. They really are.
You don't anymore. So you don't want to develop friendships with people who work for airlines necessarily, because, like, you will over time. They will try to change your opinion, or they're like, oh, we're friends, so, I expect certain type of coverage, or they get mad and they ask for whatever. But Sunny's the most...
like, not me.
Well, and Sunny in a good way, because Sunny always said, she's like, I don't care if it's good or bad news, I'll try to get you the answer you're looking for. Like, she understands that if you're a good resource for somebody, that is ultimately maybe in the best interest of whatever, or you're just a decent human. Because, like, a lot of other airlines, not your airline, but other airlines, they try to sugarcoat everything and, like, outright lie, frankly, when it's like, when they cut a meal service on a flight and they're like, not in this current situation, but otherwise, and they're like, oh, it's a customer enhancement due to feedback, and, we're making our mileage program where it's due to customer feedback.
Sure.
Like, I know I'm actually saying another airline. I'm not talking about your airline, even they're still pretty good, but
that's not my airline anymore. That's
why we wanted to have Sunny on. We thought it would be fun because somebody who's worked in corporate communications in travel and now works in the healthcare industry. And I think it's sort of nice for people to be able to see, like, a face behind all of these emails and press releases and official statements, and just sort of talk a lot about that and how it's impacting everything. So I guess we should.
I mean, how many emails have you received from the most random companies thinking, why would you have a message about coronavirus for me?
IKEA was a highlight for me. I'm like,
that would actually make sense, though, because there's a lot of people in their store.
Right. There's a lot of people in their store. I've also been getting a lot of emails from companies that I haven't done business with for, like, maybe a decade or more. Yeah. Like, I'm getting emails to the email that I used in grad school from, like, who knows where. Like, I could not find this business on a map if, like, with a gun to my head. I couldn't do it. So that's really interesting to me.
When it's a crisis like this, I mean, that's one of the most important things, is just to communicate. And in some cases, you might be over communicating just because you want to show, like, Ben goes back to transparency and awareness that, hey, even if we don't really have answers for you, I don't think anyone has answers right now, to be honest. It's changing every single day. I was telling Tiffany earlier, I read so many news articles in a day on this just to stay up to speed on everything and know that, is this something I need to go alert my leadership, or are we changing courses, or is there something else that we need to go communicate to customers and people? But that's what you're seeing them do. And every single company is just going to be very different about how they do it. And going from an airline industry to healthcare industry, vastly different. But the things that we're doing are all the same. Is we need to talk to our customers. We need to manage our stakeholders, our investors, and just be as transparent as possible.
I mean, I guess airlines and healthcare are both not ideal companies to be working for, depending on the specific things at the moment. But
what percentage of your day is like non-coronavirus?
Right now, none of it.
Yeah.
Are you sad you're not at an airline right now where you can like tell people we don't know what the hell is going on like over and over because nobody actually knows and they have questions? And, like,
no, because I think that's actually frustrating for us as people who like to have the answers and communicate it and be very clear in what our direction is. That's frustrating for us when we don't have answers and we're truly just look, we're right where you are. We're waiting for answers. I mean, they're very different, but I wouldn't say one's better than the other. I think one is very harder than the other right now. I think that's the airlines just because there's not a lot of direction happening and there's a lot of hard decisions being made too. And a lot of conversations being had that aren't being had, I can't speak for other healthcare companies, but mine, we're not having a lot of the similar conversations. We have a weekly, just about every week, our CEO goes and talks to all of our employees, not in person, on the phone. And he's just really genuine and passionate. And you can tell, like, even though he doesn't have all the answers, he wants our employees to feel calm and hey, we're thinking about you. We're staying on top of this. We're aware. And I think that just helps too, to have your leadership be the ones even to say, we don't have all the answers, but we're going to figure it out.
I love that.
So the other amazing thing is you were not into like miles and points and airlines and travel stuff before, for the most part, before you took a job at an airline. But
no, Ben, I did not fly at all. I did not sign up for an Advantage account. I think, honestly, maybe a few years before I joined American Airlines. I still don't have a United frequent flyer account.
Right.
I just signed up for Delta this year.
As the friend who paid too much at the Four Seasons in Sydney.
Yes.
Well, now maybe you'll be able to refund it and then you can rebook because, give it a second. If there's a travel wait.
I know. TBD. Who knows what the world's going to be like if I'm going to be able to go on that trip. But I had that thought. And I was like, oh, yes, I'll be able to redeem myself with Ben. He won't shame me anymore on his website. But I'm giving you another opportunity to shame me on your website by agreeing to this happy hour.
There is no shaming.
No shaming.
So how did you actually learn? Is it through your specific job role that you actually got more into travel, or because you know everything, like you knew all the lingo?
So not true.
It is. Most communications people at other airlines don't know. Like you mentioned something, and they're like, "How? I don't know what you're talking about." Versus you always figured it out. So how?
I mean, that was really hard, actually. I thought for sure, and I'm sure there were moments where you and Gary and others saw through my lack of knowledge or newness as I was trying to learn this incredibly difficult program. And that's all it was just learning and asking the right people questions and forming relationships and again, being honest with them. I don't know what this means. Can you explain it to me so that I can go and explain it to other people? Even though you and Gary knew way more than I did, my goal was always to be able to understand what you were asking. So I think,
and then go from there.
And sometimes there'd be really hard ones. There were, but again, I never wanted to show my face to, show that side of my face to you guys. I made it seem like everything was buttoned up in my world, and me personally. But I don't think that sparked my interest because I still don't know how, like that trip to Australia that I booked is only because one of the bloggers texted me and told me about a low mileage sale. I'm not looking for it. I don't know how to go find it. Is that something that you have to do every day? I feel like it is. And I don't have that desire to go search every day, every hour for those mileage stuff.
What else are you doing with your time? Like, why wouldn't you do that every hour?
I'm watching reality TV, like
the good shows, exactly. Okay, if you can watch it. Okay,
Ben is actually super excited for this segment because I think one of his great disappointments in life is my disdain for trash TV.
I'm disappointed in that.
Well,
have you been watching Love is Blind?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Or watched it. So
we
didn't used to watch anything on Netflix, but like now we're running out of other shows, so now we just watch Netflix basically. Okay, so Love is Blind. So the Jessica thing and Mark thing, totally crazy. Jessica and Bart.
Did you finish it?
No, there's one more episode. So I don't know if it's going to end with Jessica somehow like murdering somebody to get with Barnett or whatever.
Barnett. Barnett and Amber. One of the most. I fear for that relationship. Do you want me to ruin it for you?
Well, no. Well,
okay. Well, we don't really want to ruin it for the broader
She's
If
an
any,
mechanic.
well, it's been out for like a month. I feel like people need to get on top of their show watching if they still haven't watched Love is Blind. Come on, keep up.
I'm getting it. I mean, was that a while ago? Did I miss? I'm late to the game.
I would say definitely a month ago, but also time doesn't exist for me right now. I'm so confused every morning on what day it is because I don't have to get up and go to the office. So I think it was a month, but Love is Blind is, I think, like the perfect combination of cringe and just because you watch it and you're just like, oh my God, that is so awkward. And then also just needing to know what happened. Who would sign up for this experiment?
Okay, but 90 Day or no? Yes, 90 Day Fiancé?
Yes,
okay,
90 Day.
Come on, 90 Day Fiancé is on a, of course 90 Day. It's on a different level. Love is Blind is trash compared to 90 Day Fiancé.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yes, Love is Blind is a little bit more on the trashier side. Like, you're signing up for some really bad content production or overly done, scripted. But 90 Day Fiancé, you have characters like Marcel and Anna who are just mind-blowing because they don't speak each other's language and they're communicating on their phones via Google Translate. And you're like, how can you even sustain a relationship like that and fall in love?
How does that compare to the Williams or the Williams? No, you're not watching. Okay.
Williams.
Are you watching this?
I have a tangent because I have a question from a William. And this was like when we were talking, when Sunny was talking about like communicating with your customers. So Ben, who do you think would follow Hilton's lead on elite status? And just for people who didn't maybe see that post, they just came out today and were like, we're just extending everything by a year. Just everything. We're just extending it. We're moving on. Really streamlined. What do you think? Do you think anybody else will take that approach?
Which is smart and generous. I would say IHG might, because their status also isn't worth any. Sorry, Hilton status is worth something. IHG status really isn't worth anything. So I feel like they would do it. I am skeptical. I don't think Marriott has the. I don't think Marriott's going to do it.
They're not desperate enough?
They're not exactly. Hyatt, I mean, they already gave basically all. Oh, no, sorry. American gave executive platinum. Gave Globalist executive platinum. I almost hope Hyatt doesn't because their status is actually worth something in a way. I mean, I hope they do something else. I'm just saying I would rather they not give everybody 4 confirmed suite upgrades who whatever.
Right, but how many suite upgrades are you letting expire anyway?
True, but that's due to bad, like always think, there's going to be a better use one day. So I think not.
There's never a better use. I still work that so hard.
Always hoping for the better one.
What do you think, Sunny?
Oh gosh, Ben, I have turned that side of my brain off completely. I mean, I've been keeping up with your articles lately just because of the environment and curious what's happening next.
But you were a Marriott loyalist for a little bit. Like you were going for Marriott status. I recall you were like staying at like, I think it was at the Courtyard or something.
Really?
So what one?
What hotel at JFK were you?
Which lovely hotel did I choose?
It was exactly. It was a Marriott of sorts, which is now I think a homeless shelter, right?
Probably. My standards are not very high.
Not your standards. They shut down the Sheraton too, which I loved at JFK.
Yeah, I was just saying Marriott because it was one. There's so many of them, and might as well get something out of it. I've learned anything from you guys. If I'm going to be buying anything or staying anywhere, might as well get something in return. So,
which is like the best perspective to take. Like, am I getting something for my action? Or my purchase, or am I not? Okay, this is a fun question.
I rarely use my debit card anymore because in my head I'm like, Gary and Ben are going to scold me because I get absolutely nothing in return. I'm like, sorry.
Yeah.
Sean's question is amazing.
Sean's question is amazing. So Sean, as a disclaimer, works in airline operations, but not in the U.S. So he said, Sunny, do you believe there is ever a time in corporate communications where you need to give up on someone asking a ridiculous question or making a ridiculous assertion and just tell them to GFY?
What does that sound for? Get the F out? Oh, why? Okay. Yes, there are, and there absolutely are, because sometimes reporters are relentless and they get stuck on this idea and it's either something you might not want to talk about or something you don't have a good answer for or something you don't have the answer for. And a lot of times when this coronavirus first started, I'd say like January, February, we were getting some media inquiries. And our goal at that time was not to become the poster child, not to be the first company within our industry to go out there and say something, because then it just opens up the floodgates of other reporters coming and ask you about your perspective and your opinion, because that's what it was at first. They weren't hard-hitting question. It was just, what do you think is going to happen? Or do you think there's going to be a shortage? Or do you think there's going to be this? And when it's that early, yes, you tell them to just, hold off, goodbye, in a nice way. I would never tell them to go F themselves, because you got to maintain those relationships. But you have to think about your company and your perception, and is this going to help us, hurt us, or is this something that we need to just bend over and take because there's no way to get around it? There's a lot of questions and discussions have to go into that. You guys are giggling, so I don't know if I did something.
Because Gary left.
Because Gary is now asking, did you ever tell me to go F yourself?
Not to your face, Gary. No, I probably would stand up in my queue and say, God damn it, Gary, let it go. Especially because sometimes if you don't let it go, it's like, just let it go. Like frozen meals. Just let it go, Gary. Let it go.
Frozen meals. Wonder what. Okay, that's what's the polite way to tell someone to GFY if they're just annoying as hell and a reporter or whatever?
Right. And would you like to be in charge of our comment section?
No. I'm curious if they're nice or not, but no.
It's just a volume problem these days.
Yeah.
Most people are lovely.
It's maintaining the relationship. Like, hey, I understand where you're coming from. Right now, we don't have anything to add at this time. We'll keep those channels open, and if we decide to come back to the topic, we'll talk to you about it. I'm sure Ben has received that I have nothing to add at this time comment a few times.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
That's the way we don't always ask for comments.
Well, okay, that's an interesting point as well. So you, at your airline, you're very responsive and actually did everything you could. But the reality is when you contact, I kind of know some things going on in the airline industry. So if I reach out to an airline, almost inevitably the response is we don't have a comment, or they're just sort of not really giving you a real answer, not at your airline, but at other airlines. So, and at the same time, people are like, well, did you reach out to them for comment? And I do, but then, they wait intentionally 2 days to answer and say we have no comment because they hope that will push it off. I'm sure you've never employed that strategy, but other airlines.
Well, I have employed that strategy. I won't say with you, but there's been instances where it's you see if they circle back, because maybe they're fishing for a story, or they're just in the beginning stages of research and they're doing a broad reaching out to all of the companies in my industry. Let's see, if they come back around and they got a bite from someone else, and then now they're, all right, now we have to participate. Again, it kind of goes back to that. I don't want to be the poster child for something that might be obviously turned into this massive crisis. And 2 months ago, we're don't want to be the first one out there saying anything if we don't have to. So it's not the best strategy, but yes, sometimes you want to see, are they going to come back around?
Sorry, I got too distracted.
Okay, I don't know I know I'm not asking for specific examples, but nowadays you have, at least in the travel space, there's a lot of influencers who just want free travel. So there were just stories of people right now of soft focus bikini bloggers asking for free stays at hotels when this really is not the time.
Kind of a bikini blogger?
What is it? Soft focus bikini?
Right,
I don't even know.
Soft focus bikini bloggers, Sunny, right? They've got the Panama hats, and there's generally drone photos taken by their
they have their hand,
entourage,
and holding the hand.
It's like a whole category of Instagrammers.
Okay, all right.
That happens a lot in the airline industry, that people are hey, yes, I have this many followers. I would love to showcase.
Absolutely. Yes, okay. We would get I would receive a few of those. I can't remember how many it would be week or monthly, but yeah, absolutely. People would pitch their services to you. I will write a review about your airline for free travel to here and here for my family, or I write a family blog. Here are my details. And no, that's not something that we ever participated in from the comms perspective. I know that, for some groups, it makes sense when you're at an activation, when you're sponsoring an event, an activation, Marriott might hire people, influencers, quote unquote, to go attend this activation and post about it. And that's on the marketing side. From the comms side, we never participated in any type of paid coverage.
Or invite them to the Oscars. I mean, there's many paths one can take it.
I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
Okay, so this is a fun question. Obviously, hindsight is 20/20, and it's easier to think about anything in retrospect. But any thoughts on how if it came across your desk, how you would have handled the like Dr. Dao dragging situation from a few years back.
Oh my gosh.
That's an excellent question, Andrew.
Yes, that feels like a very long time ago. Thinking about where we were at as a team. One thing, when anything happens like that's another airline, like we just all know that could have been us. That could have easily happened to any other airline. I'm not really sure actually how I probably would have handled that. I would have to give that a little bit more thought. And honestly, I'd have to go back and look at what United or how United responded. I know they immediately defended their crew, if I remember
Dr.
correctly.
Dao was just reaccommodated on another flight. It was just a reaccommodation.
Right, okay.
We don't expect you to
because like you do.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't want to tread into territory.
She would have prayed she was
sorry, Andrew. I wish I had a better response for you. I just know that there's so much that happens in the background that sometimes people are just unable to see. And also there's this, gathering the details and listening to obviously there's the video, which you can't deny, but there's just, you have to do your due diligence and figure out exactly what happened. But United probably could have been a little bit faster to respond, but I was too far away from that too. That wasn't my area of ownership.
Right, and I think it's probably also harder because this particular event, it happened at like 9 p.m. initially, right? So like, does that make it harder?
Well, then that means it went to someone who was on call. So, and that's not always the same person. And then they have to follow protocol, escalating and going through all those, right steps. And so you put all that responsibility on one person, that can be a lot.
And for those just joining, sorry, we don't know who this guest is. So this is Sunny. So Sunny is awesome. She used to work in corporate communications for a major airline, and now she works in healthcare communications-ish. Is that more or less?
Media relations, corporate communications, just a different industry for a healthcare company now. Yeah.
Okay. And she is awesome because she's actually one of the people who worked for an airline in communications that was honest and that didn't pretend everything was an enhancement when it was actually negative. So honest and quick communication is not something you often get in the airline industry, and Sunny excelled at that. So that's why she's awesome.
And Ben needed filler content because he's struggling to get guests, apparently.
No, it's like we made our list of like who are 5 people who we would love to have on, because we're trying to figure out this whole like happy hour situation, right? How often are we going to do them? Are they fun? Blah, blah, blah. And it was like, okay, well, we want to have Gary on, but we don't want to have just bloggers. Like, who are other people in the travel industry who would be fun to drink with? And that was like Sunny, because then we can talk about,
fun to drink with, yes.
The world.
Also, your beer is empty, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I was going to say, can I pop?
Please.
Scoot on. All right.
Yeah.
1 second.
That's important.
And while she's doing that, then here's a fun question from Meta, who is saying Alaska is offering a 50% elite qualifying status miles bonus for flying before April 11th. Is it worth doing a mileage run just for that?
No, stay the hell home right now. I imagine that will be extended and that there's going to be a lot more promotions, but right now it is not responsible to fly, and there will be plenty of other opportunities, and who knows, maybe they'll just extend status altogether. But I think when this started, presumably when they launched that promotion, they thought this would be over quicker. So I would say hold off. I guarantee there will be a lot more promotions throughout the year. So just wait for now, I think.
I like that.
What are you now on drinking? You switched from a glass to a...
Oh, I'm just pouring it in the glass. It's a Fort Worth beer.
Is it an IPA?
It's not. It's a lager. I figured I'm going to be with you for an hour. I don't want to be slurring my words at the end, so I left the IPAs in the fridge.
That has been some of the most fun, right? The more enjoyable happy hours are the ones like on Monday we had Brett from Cranky Flyer on, and by the end of it was like you could ask him, you could have asked Brett for his social security number, and he would have been like, "Sure, here you go."
I love that. That's hilarious.
Ben, you seem to be obsessed with White Claw. Thoughts on White Claw versus standard vodka plus flavored sodas?
So I appreciate that, but that is not at all the case. I'm not at all obsessed with White Claw. We just have very limited supplies. Like, we're not going out to buy stuff. So this is what we've been stocked up on.
And where's Winston?
Sorry?
Sunny with the hard-hitting questions.
Oh, Winston, he's watching TV. He's watching that the Tiger show.
Oh, Tiger King. Oh my God.
The room, so
wild show.
White Claw, I prefer. Yeah, no, I mean, vodka. Yesterday I had Diet Sprite and vodka because that was what we had. It was very good. You don't like Diet Sprite and vodka?
It sounds like it would be have all that artificial sweetener taste to it.
Yeah, and
yeah.
What does this taste like? An all natural drinking out of like a fresh with spring?
I haven't vouched for White Claw once in this call yet.
I'm just saying I don't drink beer, which I kind of wish I did, but I can't bring myself to do it. So,
Tiffany, what are you drinking?
I am drinking, let's call it like an old fashioned, but it's not actually really an old fashioned because it's rye and maple syrup and lemon juice.
Maple syrup.
It's delicious. Creative. Yeah, so maple syrup rather than the sugar cube. So basically every single ingredient in an old fashioned is substituted for something else. And then cinnamon. And it's my favorite winter cocktail, and it freaking snowed today, so it was required.
Yeah. It seems cold for late March, but...
Well, spring here is long. We have all 4 seasons, and spring goes until like the 4th of July, typically. Ben, somebody is booked on BA2 from JFK to London City in September.
Wait, 1 second. Sorry, Qatar Airways is overhead. Qatar Airways cargo coming from Santiago. It's about to land in Miami. 777. Qatar Airways right there. How cool is that? Sorry, I can see planes outright. Qatar Airways cargo. Today we've seen Qatar Airways cargo, China Airlines cargo, Cathay Pacific cargo, UPS obviously, Atlas Air, Prime Air. Sorry, continue. But like Qatar cargo, that's a special occasion here.
It's not a typically operating cargo route?
Yes, not this specific, not from Santiago though. So they're doing like a special South America run. So usually it comes in the morning from, I want to say either Mexico City or Atlanta, but I hate.
What's the difference really?
I support U.S. airlines, so I very much strongly dislike government subsidized airlines. So every time I see Qatar Airways, I'm just enraged.
Well, hold on. Didn't you guys post a ton of hate for when American United and Delta wrote their letters about
sarcastic?
Oh, okay. I did not know. Well,
tens of billions of dollars now after.
I was about to call you out on that and be like, hold on, I read all of the articles. Okay.
They spent the past 5 years talking about, Gulf subsidies, and now they want, so anyway.
Damn, I thought I had
Tiffany, you. What was the question?
If somebody's booked on BA2, which goes from JFK to London City, but not right now because London City is closed, in September, should they already be looking for an alternative?
So, I think if it's not canceled yet, even though I think it is through somewhere in September, I would assume it's going to be canceled. I think the flight's never coming back. That's just my guess. I could be wrong. They'll rebook you on the London Heathrow JFK, so maybe you don't actually need to change now unless you are offended by being on a plane that has multiple cabins, in which case you might want to look at the private jet or La Compagnie now, which not that La Compagnie is comparable to a private jet. Sorry, Sonny, this is very airline nerdy. So I would say no. Wait, see if it cancels, and then they'll rebook you on, the Heathrow JFK if it does. So I would just stick to it for now.
Yeah, so I think it would just like, in general, anybody who has travel after April 2nd, just sit tight and hang out, see what happens. I have tickets to Cuba next Saturday. Obviously, we're not going, but we were already not going to be going because my brother-in-law, who was going to be going with us, is deployed. So I was going to be like, I need to cancel, and here's military orders. And now it's like, that seems like a lot more work for whoever's processing that cancellation. Like,
cancel for you.
Maybe we'll just hang out and let it cancel on its own. But so similarly, Keith has a question, which I think is interesting. What do you think of airlines who are playing games with cancellations? Like, they have a whole bunch of people who are flying on Delta from Portland to Amsterdam, and they're refusing to update or cancel the flight even for a departure today. Like, Delta's not canceling the flight, I guess, so that people can't get a refund, or...
Airlines are playing a lot of games with refunds. Be happy you're not in this industry anymore, Sonny. Healthcare is so much more honest in general. So,
I got that sarcasm.
Okay, you're catching on. Good. Okay, sorry. Okay. So a lot of airlines are playing games. I don't know if have you been following this? How they're playing games with refunds, Sonny?
Yes, I have seen a few of the articles from Gary. Yes.
Okay, so Gary, like exactly. So Lufthansa, so they pretend they're like, like, oh yeah.
Gary just sent me a message on Messenger too, by the way. I appreciate I appreciate my one fan. Thank you, Gary.
So airlines are playing stupid games. I mean, I understand they need to conserve their cash, but they're also like violating laws by doing it. And Gary wrote about this today that Lufthansa, they have to, per EC 261, refund people if they cancel their flight. But they're like, oh yeah, we'll refund you, but we're not processing refunds right now. So they're like, we'll refund you at some point in the future. So, here in the US, you have United, they're saying, we'll refund you in 12 months. We'll give you a voucher, and in 12 months, that'll be cash if you don't want it. American is actually being honest. They're letting people refund tickets when the flights are canceled. I think it's BS that airlines are playing games like this, and we'll remember it when this is all over. But really, we won't, because nobody actually remembers anything. And when they see a cheap fare, they're like, ooh, $49 fare. Hello, Spirit.
On that note, any travel plans, Sunny, once we're through this?
Well,
you
hopefully
might be
Australia
600 years old by the time we're through this, because I know that coronavirus years and days are much longer than regular hours.
That is very true. I feel like I spend my entire day working on it. And working from home, I know you two work from home. I never work from home. I feel like I constantly have to be working because I wake up and 10 steps away from my bed is my desk. And I feel like the expectation is to just immediately start. And then at 7:30 at night, when I hear those emails come in, why aren't you checking it? It's right there next to you. Yeah, I'm struggling.
We were actually going to do a tips for people new to working from home, but then everybody was doing that particular hot take, and it seemed like, hey, Gary's was good. Read Gary's. But really what you should do is your commute time or your getting ready, because I'm no longer straightening my hair time, shouldn't go back to your employer. They're not paying you more for it. You should use it to learn the guitar or start a hobby or whatever else you would do. Sleep in, read a book. That's your time. You should take it back. And Gary always gives the example of when he moved and was no longer commuting, that's when he started his award booking service. Yeah. So something that is.
What time are you waking up, Sunny?
It varies. I mean,
well,
what is time?
Do you start working 30 seconds later, or are you able to give yourself a minute in the morning?
Well, so I've said I washed my hair for you today. It's the first time in a few days, but yes. It varies. I've set 4 things I have to do every morning before I actually go to my desk. Is make my bed, and thank you, Gary, for that tip. Make my bed, brush my teeth. I put on a different pair of pants. We're gonna get real personal right now. Just so I'm not, and they're not real pants. They're yoga. Well, no, I don't wear pants in bed. So basically, I put on pants.
Okay.
I put on pants, and they're not real pants. They're yoga pants, So I'm not going that full extreme. I'm not gonna sit in my apartment in my work pants trying to impress my walls. And I wash my face. So for me, I'm like, okay, I have to do these things so I feel like a human being. But that takes 15 minutes, and then I'm sitting at my desk by 8 a.m., by 7:30, going at it. So, and then there's no true lunch break. And there's no break. I don't get in my car to drive home, and that signals in my head that work is over. Yeah. Just check your device once in a while or finish things.
You have to create those. It's super important. I have a dog, so that helps. But in the morning, I will get up.
I'm on the verge of adopting a cat too. It's going to happen before this quarantine's over. I know it is.
Well, you can foster some. The Humane Shelter in our area asked for people can you borrow an animal for a week or two, because then we could reduce our staff and everyone wins. So you could have a temporary pet even and be doing.
I should look into that. I don't like knowing that I'm borrowing it. So that makes me feel guilty.
You're caring for it in the interim. Otherwise it was going to be bored. And
that's true. Fostering. We'll say fostering. Fostering is the right word to use.
Yes.
Are you finding you're more efficient at home or less efficient in terms of your actual productivity?
Efficient because there's no distractions, but there are a ton of conversations that could be done in person and be taken care of immediately. And now it's a 5 email exchange or trying to get someone on the phone or IMing. I miss that. I miss being able to just pop up from my desk and say, hey, so-and-so, what are your thoughts on this? Or I have a question about this. Now it's trying to find them.
Miss Water Cooler over here. You're
but that's a thing.
I miss socializing. I miss telling my coworkers to watch 90 Day Fiancé and all the shows that they're missing.
Yeah, that's true. Got to catch up on the crucial TV thing.
Sorry, I cut you off. What were you saying?
No, I was agreeing with you. Like, it's really hard. Like, we have a good groove for like, how do you communicate when you're not physically together? But I think it's really hard for people who are used to having an office. Like, I feel like we have an understanding, like, right? Like, there's the things that you can like quickly IM, and we're pretty responsive, but we know like when the windows are in which the other one will be responsive. And then there's the like, hey, this is serious enough, and or it's not serious enough but complicated enough, where it's like, can we jump on the phone really quickly, and we jump on a video call for like 7 minutes and then move on with our days. And some days we'll do that like 25 times, and other months we'll do that 0 times. But it's taken us a long time to figure that out. So I really empathize for the people who are suddenly like no longer in their
my
offices.
company is not a remote company. You know, we have some remote days. We all can take our computer home, but we, sent everyone home 2 weeks ago to say you're going to work remote until June 1st. And the company had to do a ton of work to get everyone equipped and ready for that. And just, are you prepared for this? And so it was a lot of work. And that it's just, it is. It's not as simple as it sounds to be like, okay, you're all going to work from home. Go ahead and go.
Yeah. My mom works for a water company in Arizona, and it's like a small corporate team. Like, there's maybe 4 people in the corporate office, right? There's more people in like the customer service office. But, and she was like, I need to work from home because my daughter's annoying, and is saying that I need to. And it took their IT guy like 2 weeks to get her set up with like a VPN and, and like she didn't have a work laptop and just the whole mess. Which is sort of interesting. So Keith is also asking, do you guys think this work from home thing will be a structural problem going forward? Like, a lot of jobs, now we've shown that it's possible to work from home. Is that going to affect future like travel, commute, physical offices, business trips?
Sunny?
Obviously, well, I know personally at home, but, I was going to say, personally for me, no. I do know that there were and are companies who have sent out agreements that employees had to sign acknowledging that this was temporary and not their permanent state moving forward, just in preparation or, covering themselves to know that their employees weren't all going to say like, I'm a remote employee now, see you never. But
who would do that?
I mean, and I read the news every day for all of this stuff, just so I can be as prepared as I can when my leadership comes to me or someone asks a question. And I think I saw today in Wall Street Journal report that only 7% of the companies in the U.S. are able to work from home or something like that. I might be misinterpreting it, but it shocked me by that number because I thought how quickly it was for us to be able to turn that around. And not all companies can, just given their environment. Some have to be on site to do things. I don't know if it's going to shake the structure. I think us as a country are very much like, go to work 9 to 5, show your face and get the job done. And I don't agree with that. I think, I'm getting my work done. I don't have to be in the office every single day, checking in, clocking in. It's for my type of role. Different roles require different things. But I just think that's who we are as a country. And it's going to take a lot more than I think coronavirus to change that mindset.
I have a question that I'm sure some people are wondering, unrelated to that. There is a lot of appeal in general for people like, oh, airline employees get to fly for free. Oh, what an awesome benefit that, you get to travel for free. What is the reality of that? Like, I think I know the answer, but for people to appreciate it, like, is it as great as it sounds? Should you do the marry me, fly free thing? So should people marry you, not for your great personality and your awesomeness in general, but
you rather should marry someone if they have flight benefits because it's not a strain on you. I think it's a lot harder. So while I was working for the airline, people would say, oh, you get to fly for free. And I would quickly tell them, yes, but it's not, I get to choose any seat or I immediately get on any flight I want. There has to be a seat available and you fly standby. And that's not for everyone in the company. There's different benefits for different levels, but for where I was at, it was standby. And so, I mean, airlines are really good at selling those seats now. They have it down pat. So, and you started to learn what times of the year to avoid completely. Like typically now was a huge no because of spring break. You try to go anywhere in March is huge no. Obviously the holidays were really difficult. Most holidays I would fly back on Thanksgiving or on Christmas Day to make sure that I got home. But there's also ton of opportunities to go fly in seats that you probably wouldn't be able to afford on your own when you go international, because you can fly in business and first class. And if you find the right flight and you get on it, it's awesome. So I will, praise that, but it's not as easy or as glamorous, I think, as people think it might be.
It's basically all the same things as using miles and points.
Yeah, sure.
Miles and points you can.
It's like off-peak days.
So you don't really find out if you're getting on until you're at the gate.
Right, that seems very stressful. Yes. So Ben, Chris has a question. Do you know if any airlines will be planning to decrease requirements to get status? Or what do you think? I know that no one knows anything.
I would be willing to bet with near certainty that virtually all airlines will significantly decrease requirements. I think it's totally fine, though, if they wait for several months to make that decision, because that math should look different if we are grounded globally for 6 weeks rather than 6 months or a year. Hopefully it's not a year, but I do expect across the board there will be.
Sunny's like, I cannot do a year of working from home and coronavirus.
God, I would, if I can go outside and do things, I think that will help. But the fact that I can't do that, it makes it harder. But do you think it's going to be a year?
Well, I mean, what I heard is that we're all going to be at church on Easter. So I feel like 2.5 weeks, and then what could go wrong with a bunch of people doing the opposite of social distancing? We'll see. No, I think it'll be a few months at least, but.
And it's not necessarily a few months of like lockdown, but we're seeing this in Washington, because Washington's a bit ahead of everybody with this whole situation, where the initial data so far, and granted, we're not doing widespread testing, but it seems to be that like the social distancing is working and we have flattened the curve here. So it's like, if everyone is able to do that, the less time we all have to stay home. And as much fun as these happy hours are, we would all like to be traveling. So stay home.
Yeah, I think New York had reported, I mean, obviously Washington's much further ahead to see if they actually are flattening the curve, but New York had some similar reports today that it was one of the first days where they didn't see an enormous spike in cases. So might be working.
Which is hard. I mean, Travis would say that our data is garbage. Travis used to write on the blog, and he's like a data scientist person. And he would say that our data is sort of garbage because we're like not testing enough people to really be able to know what's going on. But still, we'll take hope where we can find it, I guess.
Sunny, when you worked for an airline, could you also fly their partner airlines as a non-rev, or what were the policies there? Someone asks Nicole.
Yep, we called that Zetting. There were fees that came with it. It wasn't completely free, but yep. And you were bottom of the list priority. You got on last. So, I mean, if you knew the flight was open, and you never really knew the flight was open, there were some groups on Facebook where you could go and ask for flight loads. But when you get into some of the really more international airlines, it's harder to get those flight loads. So you had really no idea. It gave you like a smiley face and it was either a green one, a yellow one, or a red one. And you're like, okay, take it for what?
Sunny, what was your favorite airplane experience? That might give away a lot, but describe it minus saying.
I think everything has been given away by now.
Yeah. Well, and also we talked about this earlier. If you can Google my name and see where I work and where I currently work.
Gary took care of that for you. Don't worry. Gary was all in the comments with like,
here's
Sunny, here's her LinkedIn.
Here's her LinkedIn.
Hire her, marry her, whatever.
Okay, so I think this should not shock anyone that knows me or has worked with me, but I am not an airline nerd and I do not know all of the planes in and out. But I think one of my favorite events was when our airline first got the 789 and we had invited people on for the first flight, which was to LAX. It was just kind of exciting to see how excited they were. I won't think I was as excited, but they were very excited and very geeky. And it was kind of cool to be on its first revenue flight because obviously it had flown prior. But yeah, I don't think I have. I'm sorry I didn't really answer that question because I don't think I have.
I liked it. Yeah, I liked it.
Actually, take that back. And you and Gary are probably gonna laugh at me because I took my mom to Dublin for Thanksgiving one year on an A332. So we know how great those are. But I loved it because that was the first time my mom ever got to fly business class and have a lie flat seat. And she took the menu, so excited, and she wanted it as a keepsake. So
that's really
that
cute.
was a good experience.
I love that. We like traveling with moms. That's super fun. So changing gears entirely, B is asking, and this is not an official statement, obviously, but with something like COVID and a lot of these social good nonprofit initiatives, what do you think or just what you're seeing is the balance between like good PR and like doing the right thing for airlines? Like now that you're outside of it, what are you sort of thinking?
Well, I loved seeing that American Airlines was touting that they were still operating their cargo flights, because obviously that's really important in a time like now to get supplies. I think that was wonderful PR and a great idea to go and to broadcast that. And that fits that feel good story of like doing good and making sure that you're giving back to the community in the best way that you can at the time, because they have a lot to focus on, and their focus might not be so much on how they give back to the community, but how they take care of and the customers.
We're still here. There was a
we're back. It was a quick glitch.
Yeah, that was weird. So I think for them, they're in a unique situation because they have a lot to figure out, and they have to think about their team members and their customers first before they can think about how they're helping fight this. But for us in the healthcare industry, I know our company donated money to the local North Texas United Way to go to a fund, and we're continuing to look at ways to support how we help fix this issue.
And William said he was on that DFW to LAX flight and was excited to be on the first revenue flight. So
hello, William. It's been a long time.
And the irony when you said A332, so much for you not being an airline, geek or something.
Did I nail it? As soon as that came out, I was like, I can't backtrack. Just go with it, Sunny. We don't know if that was right or not.
I think you got it exactly right.
So funny. So Ben, what do you think of non-hotels like Airbnb, which are sort of outside like the normal parameters, and their approach to refunds in the current environment? Like they have to please both the hosts and the guests, which is not totally dissimilar from like a hotel franchise that has to please both the owners and guests, but it feels a little different right now.
And that's why I have a lot more sympathy at this point for a lot of hotels rather than airlines, because airlines are ultimately big corporations, but hotels, you have, for example, Hampton Inns that are franchised, and like they've been saving their whole life to buy a hotel, and now they have a hotel, and now there's nobody staying there, and they can't pay their bills, which is, a little different than a large airline. So an Airbnb is like an even more extreme example of that, where you have somebody whose business might just be renting out a place. So it sucks. I would like if how much is Airbnb worth? If they could, I don't know. I don't actually know what the arrangement is at this point when they're allowing cancellations. Are they unilaterally allowing them and the host is screwed, or
right? It used to be that like, the cancellation policy really depends on the host, but of course that was really terrible press for Airbnb because you just need like one lady to be inflexible, and then you have a PR nightmare. So
I don't know. This might be a real scenario for you. My girlfriends and I are supposed to go to Cape Cod end of April, and we booked an Airbnb, and her cancellation policy is just the strictest it can be. And my friend who booked it even booked it through Airbnb, and then she was contacted by a third party company who managed the rentals, and she had to sign another piece of paper agreeing to the cancellation policy. And so she's worried we're not going to get a refund. And I told her, wait until everything's canceled, and then they won't have a choice. But do they have a choice? I mean,
for Airbnb, or what is their actual policy?
I feel like that's something I would report to Airbnb.
She emailed it to me, and I was a little irritated that she signed this, because I feel like the contract should be with Airbnb when you buy it through the website. Look, man, my mistakes. I come from a world where we do not do this. Obviously, about my hotels.com booking. Bear with me and my friends.
Yeah, that's actually like, I think in general, good advice. Like if you're doing business with any company and you think you're doing business with a company and you get like a supplementary bit of whatever from an outside company.
Yeah, it was, I saw it and I immediately thought, Megan, why would you even sign this? We already agreed to the cancellation policy. So our plan right now is to wait to see what happens. Obviously, I think we all know more flights are going to be canceled. Things are going to be shut down. So especially because it's in a month. I don't think things are going to change that much in a month.
I mean, I guess even more on a big picture level, the problem is who should really be footing the bill for everything that is going wrong, which is really no one's fault individually.
Right. Should be like the investors in Airbnb, like, you know.
Right. It's like, so the government is paying for a lot of things, but like, you know, obviously as consumers, like it's not our fault. We don't want to travel and this is going on. It's also not the fault of the person who is renting out their place that you booked a non-refundable, not you, but that somebody booked a like everybody is screwed. And I don't know. I don't think there is a right answer. And it's sucky. Like airlines are losing a lot of money as well. Hotels, everyone.
Is Airbnb a company and, you know, VBRO, are they companies that can benefit from a bailout? Can they actually request that, or because they're not the, you know, traditional brick and mortar type?
I mean, ultimately, they're tech companies that have no real. It's like Uber, if you know, they're an app essentially. So since they have no real assets, I mean, they're worth a lot. It would be nice if they, you know, sold off some of their stock and used that. That would never happen. And use that.
Sunny B chimed in and said, you should just go directly to Airbnb. The host is probably in violation of Airbnb's policies for adding an extra layer of contract on you. So just start with that.
Thank you, B. That is what I told my friend. I said, when we get to this, do not contact them. We go to Airbnb first. Thank you, B. I will screenshot that and send it to her.
I love that. Ben, Daniel is wondering if he should be worried about United dropping flights out of Houston long term. Like it's not as big of a hub as Newark or Chicago. He's a 1K and based there, so worried about like future convenience and connections. And
I mean, I think no matter what, United kind of owns Houston, and it's been the big emphasis for them, and I imagine that will continue. So they will definitely be your best option. I do think the airline industry overall is not going to look the same in 6 months compared to how it looked 6 months ago. Like I do think things are actually changing long term here. When you look at just the number of planes that are being parked and that they're viewing this as a long-term thing, American is, you know, retiring their 757s and 767s. Like that's pretty major to do overnight, basically. So I think things will change. I think we'll see fewer frequencies, but I still think as a 1K in Houston, like that's like being a Delta flyer in Atlanta or an American flyer in Charlotte or Dallas. Like it's you'll be fine, but there will be fewer.
You'll still
flights
be flying United, but you'll be fine. These are good questions. Trying to look and see if there's something that we haven't answered. I'm trying to go through and look.
And just for anyone who's joining us, so Sunny is awesome, and she worked in communications at a major U.S. airline and now works in healthcare communications-ish. So if anyone has any pressing, you know, scandalous questions that are not identifying or terrible for somebody who used to.
What would you guys say, since I'm not a trash TV watcher, but you guys share an affinity for what I would lovingly refer to as trash TV.
It's fine. Call it trash TV.
Okay. What is the best trash TV on right now?
Summer House. Ben?
I've not seen that. Is that Netflix?
Bravo.
Oh God! Oh, that was the one that they were promoting. Yeah, no. Okay, wait. So how does it work? What happens? I haven't seen it. I can't believe it.
New Yorkers, they rent a summer house in the Hamptons, and every weekend they go, and it's just shit show.
Is that what it's about?
I love it. Yeah, that is what it's about, and it's better than Vanderpump Rules this year. Vanderpump Rules this season is just failing me so much. You disagree?
Well, I could only stand like one episode of Vanderpump Rules before I gave on. So, am I wrong?
The best show is Tiger King. Is the best show not Tiger King?
Yeah, I wouldn't call that trashy reality TV. That's a documentary. But yes, that is also very, very good. As I told Tiffany, it has literally everything you can think of.
Okay, trash
that
TV.
You need in a show.
Love After Lock. Sorry, excuse me. It's 90 Day Fiancé without a doubt.
90 Day Fiancé.
Love After Lockup. Then I don't think it's trash TV. I love Curb Your Enthusiasm, but that's just me. Other people don't.
Okay, I like Curb Your Enthusiasm. Yep.
And RuPaul's Drag Race, except this season, I don't know. Ru is just there for.
What about like My 600-Pound Life? Do you ever venture over into that world? For me, I have to figure out: do they stick to the diet? Is Dr. Now successful?
It's a lot. I mean, and versus extreme couponing, I watch My 600-Pound Life and extreme couponing in like 4-segment YouTube clips, or not 4-minute ones. Sorry, where like TLC uploads them. That's about my tolerance for it, for like the specific things they're doing, which like. I would just like to shout out to anybody who's an extreme couponer, because I'm like, these people are crazy. They have like bunkers.
They're crazier than you, but they do the same thing you do, but just with coupons.
Yeah, so like their prize is like literally tampons, but they're like
toilet paper. How
I was going to say, they're the ones
to have been
winning out.
hoarding toilet paper.
They're finally having their last laugh now. Yeah,
they are. They are prepared for everything right now. Other trashy TV, obviously, Real Housewives. Can't go wrong there.
Which franchise?
I was going to say, I mean, New York for me is number one, and then Beverly Hills, and then Orange County. Those are the three that I will watch.
Atlanta, come on. I have been for years trying to get you to watch Atlanta, and somehow you're still not doing it. What the hell?
I don't know. It hasn't clicked yet. And New Jersey, I'll watch, but I just don't love. I don't like Teresa. She's crazy.
New Jersey is amazing because they're just so. The whole thing is so
They're so New Jersey.
It's just so.
Yeah.
And the tans. Oh my God, the amount of spray tan. It's just unbelievable.
Another show, which is not trashy, but McMillions on HBO is very interesting. It's about the McDonald's. In 2001, the FBI was investigating McDonald's Monopoly game because all of the winners were coming from Jacksonville, Florida. Not all of them, but a big chunk. And they finally figured out that it was this ring of people frauding. It was very interesting. And it's also very Florida.
Okay, and since I just finished Don't F with Cats, is there anybody who is watching who has seen this who thinks that Manny existed in any form at all? And it's just, if anybody does, I would assume no, but I would love to hear.
Do you think he exists?
I think he could have existed as like a client of his at some point who actually did not. No, he didn't, because the whole connection to whatever that movie is he loved, where he's even smoking in the confessional thing.
Yeah.
That's the problem with crime shows, is I have to watch them all at once because I need to know what happens. Like, I can't go to sleep with the serial killer or cat killer out there. Like, I need to know he's in jail and what happened. And otherwise I Google it and then it's done. So it's, okay, McMillions is Amazeballs. That's my next one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And Ben, Andre has a question. He's asked it a couple of different ways. So he's put in a refund request for a couple of United flights this month that were both booked during the no cancellation or change fee period. But the people flying, like, their businesses went under. What are his chances of getting a refund for them?
Assuming that the flights don't cancel, unfortunately, very little. So I would just hope. I mean, you have the policy now that you can refund it till whenever. United is canceling a bunch of flights. And if they cancel your flight per DOT regulations, you're entitled to refund. United will pretend you're not entitled to a refund. So ultimately, if it cancels, ask United. And if they say no, file a credit card dispute because, like, they're violating DOT regulations. So that sucks, but I think that's the only path to take there.
Yeah, that's sort of the complicated thing. And that's the kind of thing that would be hard anytime, like, not just this particular crisis, but just any. It's partly why there's so much disdain for the airlines in the public opinion, right? It's like, oh, you canceled the flight and you want me to just get a credit, but, like, I could have died and you wouldn't have refunded me.
That's a good question, Sunny. What do you think? Why do you think people are unfair towards the airlines in general?
I don't know. Unfair towards them and, like, thinking that they're too hard or too strict?
Well, like, everybody, it's cool to hate on airlines. Like, oh, Spirit, screw you with your 28
Yeah,
inches.
I will say I think, in my opinion, one industry that just, I don't think anyone comes out and, like, more people will be negative about them than positive from what you see and from, living there. I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to share my opinion because I think
Another
it might
beer, maybe. And then we'll get. Okay, what do you think is the most misunderstood thing about airlines? Like, what do you think? What do you wish? What would you have wished a long time ago that people understood about airlines, or even media understood? Since you were dealing with media, like, that they would give, which is probably going to be something. Yeah. So.
Well, I'll do it from my perspective, and, like, my role was. I was just the messenger. A lot of changes, a lot of things that were happening were not, we just had to go communicate. And so for me, that was sometimes, it's difficult when you might not agree or you feel like you just have to go deliver a negative message and you understand why you're doing it and you might agree with it, but you still have to go and do that message. And
right.
That's
and
hard.
Actual people.
Yeah, right. That's what it's all people. It's not business to business so much. It's just all these people are going to be impacted, and you guys know everything there is to know about these programs and how they work. And so you are just so smart to see through things, or so smart to see what is true and not true. And so that was also hard too, to be that messenger when you knew, okay, they're going to hate this and there's no way for me to sugarcoat it.
But
so I try not to.
As a general communication thing, not at all related to the airline industry, but how do you feel about transparency in whatever form it comes, whether it's award charts or whatever, or anything in life, transparency in a relationship, whatever it might be. We're not talking about award charts at airlines or, actually announcing changes rather than sneak them. But how do you feel about that versus something that what's the thought process versus something you could realistically get away with where 95% of people wouldn't catch on to that having happened versus like being upfront and alerting 95% of people like, hey, we're going to screw you over. Here's what you need to know versus pretending like, huh?
Well, I think you have learned that transparency is something that is important to me. And in the industry I am in now, that's, it's not customer to customer, it's business to business. So I don't have as heavy as a hand in the, external communications that we did for customers, or it's not as big as it was, or going to be picked up by every single person or caught on the website when we made a change. But I think it is important. And even if it's just 5% of your customers that are going to catch it, it's still important to tell the rest of them, 95%, because it's going to impact them. But at the end of the day, like you just have to tell people what they're getting into.
Do you hear that Delta Sky Miles and United Mileage Plus, which doesn't in any way give away anything?
Oh, Ben, you put me in a hard corner.
You worked for Spirit Airlines. You were in the free miles. You speaking of the free miles.
I flew Spirit to Vegas earlier this year, and it was perfectly fine. I did pay for a big front seat, whatever it's called. And
the
it was
best deal in travel. It's so great. Did you have fuzzballs, which is kind of like this, except
I did not, but I do remember you doing that review where you drank all the buzzballs and the flight attendant did not care how many she gave you. I do remember that.
I was so sheepish about that because I did not think anyone would sell a Spirit Airlines passenger 3 drinks at once. But
it was a really cheap flight to Vegas, though. It served its purpose.
It did.
That's all you need. So I think that's time.
Thank
you for joining us, Sunny. I hope.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for giving me a reason to wash my hair today.
It's one of the many services that we provide these days. We do happy hours, we inform, we educate, and we're like, hey, it's time.
Hey, pick up your hygiene. It's been slacking since Monday. Yes.
Sunny, I hope, I'm happy for your career change, but I do, honest to God, hope that you're back in the airline industry one day because airlines need your honesty and transparency and your approach to communicating with people because it is not the same to honestly communicate with anyone in the airline industry except you because you're honest and you're smart and everything. So thank you for being awesome at the time that you were at that airline. And I hope that, I hope that you're back there soon. Or maybe I'll just start a healthcare blog. That'll end well. I'll be like, why did you?
Well, you had a name for it. It was One Pill at a Time. And I think that was brilliant.
What could go wrong?
It'd be perfect.
Thank you guys for tuning in and have a lovely evening of doing nothing. It's that's what
go watch those shows. Tiger King.
Wait, what am I supposed to start? McMillions and what's the
McMillions on HBO? Tiger King. Put Summer House on the bundle. That's just good mindless TV. But if you want something good. Okay, all right. Then go that route.
From home all day, people need mindless TV because they've been thinking all day, right? So
yeah, Summer House fits that. Anything on Bravo, best channel out there.
Well, thank you, Sunny.
Thank you, guys. Thanks everybody for joining
us.